It was a cold evening, the kind that makes you feel like the whole world has forgotten about warmth. The boy stood at the edge of a biker bar, his trembling hands clutching something small, wrapped in a piece of old cloth. His eyes darted nervously at the loud men in leather jackets, their laughter echoing through the night. He wasn't supposed to be there. He knew it. But desperation had already replaced fear. The door creaked open as one of the bikers noticed him, a big man with a scar running down his cheek. The boy's voice cracked as he whispered, "Sir, would you like to buy a ring?" The laughter in the bar died instantly. Nobody expected what was about to happen next. Ethan was just 14. Life had been cruel long before he understood what fairness meant. After his mother's passing 3 weeks ago, the small apartment they lived in was locked up by the landlord. Unpaid rent, no sympathy. He had nowhere to go. All he had left was a small ring, his mother's wedding ring. The only thing she ever said had real value. He remembered her words before she got sick. "If life ever gets too hard, this ring will help you. But promise me, Ethan, only sell it when you have no other choice." And now that day had come. He spent hours walking through the city, holding the ring in his pocket like it was burning through his palm. Pawn shops turned him away. Some laughed, thinking he'd stolen it. Others offered him so little that it felt like an insult to his mother's memory. By sunset, he ended up outside a biker bar on the edge of town. The sound of roaring laughter and engines filled the air, intimidating, wild, and far from anything he knew. But he saw a motorcycle outside that gleamed under the neon lights, and in that reflection, he saw his own hopeless eyes staring back. He stepped inside. The room fell silent for a second as the boy, thin and shivering, walked toward the counter. He unwrapped the ring slowly. It glowed under the yellow lights, a simple silver band, but clean, elegant, and full of stories. "I just need $50, he said softly. "Just 50. I can get a room for a few nights, please." The big biker at the bar, they called him Tank, scoffed. "Kid, this ain't no place for you. Go home." "I don't have one," Ethan replied, voice shaking. Something in that answer hit harder than any punch Tank had ever thrown. Another biker, an older man named Mick, leaned forward. His face was weathered, his eyes curious. "Where'd you get that ring?" "My mom's," Ethan whispered. "She passed away. I just need to eat." For a long moment, nobody said a word. The bar that was full of rowdy noise minutes ago was now wrapped in silence. Even the jukebox seemed to fade away. Then Tank stood up, towering over Ethan. "You're saying you're selling your dead mom's ring for food?" Ethan nodded, tears welling up. Tank took the ring from his palm, rough hands touching something fragile, something sacred. He examined it for a long time before setting it on the counter. "Sit down, kid," he said quietly. Ethan hesitated, but Tank gestured again. "Sit. You look like you'll fall over." A woman behind the bar, Rita, the bar owner, brought him a bowl of stew and bread without saying a word. Ethan devoured it like he hadn't eaten in days. When he finished, Tank spoke again. "You said $50, huh?" Ethan nodded. Tank reached into his jacket, pulled out a thick roll of cash, and dropped it on the counter. "Here's 500. You keep your mom's ring." The boy's eyes widened. I can't." "You can?" Tank interrupted. "You just did." Before Ethan could speak, the other bikers started placing bills on the counter. 20s, 50s, hundreds. Within minutes, there was over $1,000 sitting there. Rita smiled through tears. "That's what family does, kid, even if it's one you didn't know you had." Ethan couldn't stop crying. For the first time in weeks, he felt safe. Ethan stayed at the bar that night. They made a small bed for him in the storage room. It wasn't much, but it was warm, and it was filled with people who cared. Strangers who'd become something like angels in leather jackets. Over the next few days, he helped Rita clean up the bar, learned to cook in the kitchen, and listened to the bikers' stories. They weren't the monsters he'd imagined. They were veterans, truck drivers, mechanics, people who'd been broken in their own ways. But there was one thing Ethan couldn't stop wondering: why had Tank, the scariest one of all, been the first to help him? One night, when the bar was quiet and the others had gone home, Ethan found Tank sitting alone, staring at the same ring he had tried to sell. "Sir, why did you help me?" Ethan asked softly. Tank took a deep breath. His eyes were wet when he looked up. "You remind me of someone." "Ooh, my daughter," Tank said. "She died 5 years ago, car accident. She was about your age." Ethan froze. The silence between them felt heavy, but not painful. More like two souls who finally understood each other without needing to speak much. Tank continued, voice trembling. That scar on my face, it's from that day I was driving I lived. She didn't. I thought I'd never get a second chance to do something right again. He reached into his pocket and handed the ring back to Ethan. When you walked in with that ring, I saw myself. Desperate. Broken. Searching for something to hold on to. So if you ever think nobody cares, remember that night. Ethan held the ring close to his chest. I will, I promise. From that day on, the bikers became Ethan's family. They helped him enroll in school, found him a small apartment, even chipped in for his college savings. The ring never left his hand again. It wasn't just a memory of his mother now, but a symbol of kindness from people who looked rough but had hearts of gold. Years later, Ethan stood in front of a crowded hall, giving a speech at his college graduation. Tank sat in the front row, proudly wearing his leather vest. Ethan smiled as he said, "When I had nothing left, a group of strangers gave me everything. They taught me that sometimes the most broken people are the ones capable of the deepest love. Never judge a soul by what you see on the outside, because sometimes the toughest hearts hide the gentlest spirits." The crowd rose in applause. Tank wiped a tear from his eye, and somewhere deep inside, Ethan knew his mother was smiling too. So the next time you see someone who looks different, rough, or scary, remember Ethan's story. Because compassion doesn't always wear a suit. Sometimes it wears a leather jacket.